What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports and Match you guys with another video. This video I'm here with my XFL Week 1 power rankings, my initial power rankings for all 8 XFL teams as we get into the start of the XFL season come this weekend. Now, before I begin, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos and XFL videos daily. So let's get into it. So the first team that I have on my Week 1 XFL power rankings going into Week 1 of the XFL season is the Dallas Renegades. Now, the Dallas Renegades, their head coach is Bob Stoops, who is the longtime head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners a while back before he ended up stepping down, which he ended up getting succeeded by head coach right now, which is Lincoln Riley. Now, Bob Stoops is known for his air raid philosophy, pass heavy attack. I mean, he had a lot of success during his time as the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. And I mean, look, the reason why I have the Dallas Renegades as the #1 team going into this XFL season is because a lot of players on this roster have a lot of experience playing under Bob Stoops. You got guys like Landry Jones, also wide receiver Jeff Bandit, who has experience playing under Oklahoma head coach Bob Stoops. And the big reason why this is important, because when you look at a new league, most of the time teams in a new league, these players, these coaches don't have a lot of time to implement the philosophies. These players don't have a lot of time to learn the playbooks and things like that. So that's why if you guys remember the AAF, it wasn't really a lot of offense the first couple of weeks in the AAF due to those players learning the playbooks and things like that, and they didn't have a lot of time to practice compared to what happens when you look at the NFL. The players are there year-round. You have new players that come in and learn the system, but sometimes you have veterans that know the system. They know the plays and things like that. But anytime you're in a startup football league, you're not going to have a lot of time to learn the playbooks and things like that. So I think it is a very important factor that a lot of players playing on this roster have a lot of experience playing under Bob Stoops and his system, and they're familiar with the way that Bob Stoops likes to run his offense, his plays, and things like that. And they know what to expect. You also got key players like Cameron Artis-Payne, who was a backup for the Carolina Panthers for a couple of seasons. You also have Lance Dunbar, who has some NFL experience as well. You got Philip Nelson, who might end up being a starting quarterback if Landry Jones isn't able to be ready to go Week 1, because he did have some kind of injury starting off training camp early January. So we don't really know the status of Landry Jones, if he's going to be ready to go Week 1 or not. So Philip Nelson will be the guy who will be the starter if Landry Jones isn't ready to go Week 1 for the Dallas Renegades. The second team that I have on my power rankings, I have the DC Defenders. Now, the head coach for the DC Defenders is Pep Hamilton. Now, Pep Hamilton has a lot of experience. He was the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, taking over for Bruce Arians the year that the Indianapolis Colts ended up going to the playoffs in Andrew Luck's rookie season. He also was with Andrew Luck during his time for Stanford under now currently Michigan's head coach Jim Harbaugh, and he also was Michigan's passing game coordinator from 2017 to 2018. So you have to look with Pep Hamilton's background that he's going to have a pass-heavy attack. And his key players that he has Cardale Jones. You have Donnell Pumphrey, who was the NCAA's leading rusher a couple of years back. You got Nick Brossette. You got Rashard Ross, who was one of the best receivers in the AAF last season. You got Eli Rogers, Malachi Dupree, Sammy Cobbs. So, I mean, the DC Defenders, in my opinion, talent-wise, have the best offensive personnel. I mean, you got Cardale Jones, Donnell Pumphrey, Rashard Ross, Eli Rogers. You have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball for the Defenders, and I easily think that the Defenders, talent-wise, are the best team offensively than any team in the XFL. Now, the big storyline is going to be watching how Cardale Jones does, because we really haven't seen what Cardale Jones has been able to do as a professional, because he bounced around for the Buffalo Bills a short time, then he was on the LA Chargers roster for a while, but we really haven't been able to see what Cardale Jones has been able to do as a professional quarterback. So this is really interesting seeing what he's going to be able to do, getting his first start as professional. The third team that I have on this list, I have Tampa Bay Vipers. And the Tampa Bay Vipers are third on my list because I like the coaching staff and I also like the blend of talent that they have. Now, their head coach is Mark Trestman. Now, Tampa Bay has a coaching staff that has a lot of NFL experience, starting with Mark Trestman. Now, Mark Trestman, during his time, was a pass-happy head coach. He liked to throw the ball a lot during his time being the head coach of the Chicago Bears and the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens for two seasons during the 2013 and 2015 NFL seasons. Now, his offenses back then resemble what the modern NFL offenses are. They like to throw the ball a lot, don't really put a lot of emphasis on the running game. They'll run the ball a couple of times, but they put a lot of emphasis on the passing game. And that's what Mark Trestman does. Mark Trestman reminds me of Andy Reid. He runs his offense similar to the same way Andy Reid runs his offense. You're kind of going to see a little bit of motion, a lot of innovative play calling and things like that. You're going to see a lot of motion, a lot of deceptiveness and things like that. And you're going to see a pass-heavy attack. And I think it's really good that Mark Trestman has a quarterback like Aaron Murray to go along with what he wants to do on the offensive side of the ball. And Aaron Murray, in my opinion, is probably the second best quarterback in the XFL right now. Because Aaron Murray, I mean, when you look at what he did when he was playing for the Atlanta Legends last season for the AAF, he was probably the second best quarterback in the AAF. I mean, he's accurate. He has good footwork in the pocket. And he's everything you want if you're the head coach, Mark Trestman, that you want, and you're starting quarterback to fit your system. So you got a quarterback who's really good, really accurate, doesn't turn the football over in a pass-heavy attack. They also have a couple of other notable players on the offensive side of the ball. You got wide receiver Stacey Coley, who's the former Miami Hurricane player. He bounced around for a couple of teams. I believe he had a brief stint in the preseason with the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks as well. So the fourth team that I have the Seattle Dragons. Now, the Seattle Dragons are number 4 on this list. They have head coach Jim Zorn. They have offensive coordinator Mike Riley. Now, Jim Zorn was an NFL quarterbacks coach for 14 years across 4 different NFL teams. He was Washington's head coach for 2 seasons. Now, you also got Mike Riley, who was the former head coach for the LA Chargers back in 1999 to 2001, back then when they were known as the San Diego Chargers. He also was a long-time head coach for Oregon State before having a brief stint with Nebraska. Now, Mike Riley was the head coach of the San Antonio Commanders back in 2019 for the folded AAF League. And the San Antonio Commanders were 3rd in the AAF in rushing. They also have a lot of former AAF halfbacks on their roster. So I'm looking at this team to be really reliant on the run game. I think the key of their offense is the running back position. You got running backs Kenneth Farrow and Jaquan Gardner, who are both pretty good during their time playing for the AAF. You also have Keenan Reynolds, who was the former Navy quarterback a couple of years ago. He was a Heisman contender during his time playing quarterback for Navy. So I'm really interested in seeing what this team does, but most of the time I think that this Seattle offense is going to end up being a run-heavy offense due to them. I don't really think they have a lot of wide receivers on the outside that can create separation, and the strength of this team is their stable that they have at the halfback position. At number 5, I have the Los Angeles Wildcats. Now, the Los Angeles Wildcats, they have a mixture of talent. They have some notable players, but I also think they also lack a little bit of depth at some notable position as well. That's why I had them at number 5. I think they're pretty much middle of the pack. You don't know if they're going to be good, but you don't know if they're going to be bad neither. So I think one thing that you can give the LA Wildcats credit for is that they have the best quarterback in the XFL and Josh Johnson. Now, Josh Johnson is an NFL journeyman. He bounced around from several NFL teams. Most notably, his most recent stint came when he was the starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins a season ago, and he did pretty well in my opinion. And also, the Detroit Lions were also trying to bring him up so he could be their starting quarterback when Matthew Stafford went down with an injury, but the XFL declined that. So, I mean, this team, you don't really know what to expect. I mean, they have a blend of talent, but they also lack some talent at key positions as well. So, at number 6, I have the Houston Roughnecks. Now, the Houston Roughnecks, their head coach is June Jones. June Jones was the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator and their head coach in the 1990s. He also had some pretty long stints as a head coach for Hawaii and SMU. So this is a guy who likes to push the ball down the field vertically. I mean, when you think about the Hawaii and SMU offenses during his time as head coach there, they put up some gigantic numbers. I believe he was the head coach there when Coach Brandon was there. Coach Brandon is probably the best college football quarterback to ever live. When you look at all of the records that he has, I mean, all you see, he has passing touchdown records, passing yards records, and things like that. So I'm expecting a vertical passing game. Now, we don't know who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Houston Roughnecks. Now, I think P.J. Walker is going to end up being the starting quarterback, but also don't be surprised you see Connor Cook as the starting quarterback for the Houston Roughnecks as well. You got wide receiver Sammy Coates, who was the former wide receiver for Auburn during his college days. He also spent a brief stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. You also got Andre Williams, who was really, really good during his time for Boston College. And he also had a breakout season for the New York Giants a season back. I don't know what happened. He ended up getting released for some reason. So that's going to be interesting to watch. At number 7, I have the New York Guardians. Now, the New York Guardians is a team that's number 7 on this list, led by head coach Kevin McBride. Now, they lack talent. I mean, they don't really have a lot of talent on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. But Kevin McBride was the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants from 2007 to 2013. He placed a lot of emphasis on running the football. He had a power run scheme. We already know Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw, and things like that. So he is a guy who's going to favor the run game. He has quarterback Matt McGloin, who was the former Penn State quarterback a while back. He also was the backup for the Oakland Raiders for a couple of seasons. You also got Marquise Goodwin and Luis Perez back there for the number 1, 2, and 3 quarterbacks there. You got Tim Cook. You got Justin Stockton for the 2 halfbacks. And their key wide receiver is going to be Mikael McKay. So this team obviously is lacking depth on the offensive side of the ball. Besides, when it comes to the quarterback position, they have a lot of good quarterbacks. You got Luis Perez there. You got Marquise Williams there. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting seeing who ends up remaining the starting quarterback for them as we progress through the XFL season. But I had them at number 7 just because they don't really have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of notable players. And I think they're going to end up struggling to score a lot of points due to their mentality. And at number 8, the last team that I have the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, the St. Louis Battlehawks, Jordan Ta'amu is their starting quarterback, and I'm really skeptical about him being a starting quarterback because, listen, this was a guy who was the quarterback for Ole Miss when he had A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf to throw to. And he also had DeMarcus Lodge as well, and he didn't really do that good. Now, the St. Louis Battlehawks, I think they lack a lot of talent, and this is basically a run-heavy team. They have a good stable of halfbacks. You got Christian Mike, you got Christian Michelle, you got Matt Jones, you got Keith Ford. All those guys are really, really good, but their wide receiver position is really, really shaky. You got LaDamian Washington from Missouri. You got Keith Mumphrey from Michigan State. So they don't really have a lot of dynamic wide receivers on the outside. They don't really have a lot of talent in general on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball in general. And this is why I have them as the number 8 team, the last team in my power rankings. So this is it for my Week 1 XFL power rankings going to Week 1 of the XFL season. Let me know what you guys think about these power rankings down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more XFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.